I'm pulling up my slides here again. All right, let me share my screen. Okay, welcome everybody to the Fall 2021 Showcase Day of Berkeley StEP. We're thrilled to have you all on the call today. So let me go to the next slide here. So today we're presenting the top UC Berkeley startups, and they will be pitching their ventures tonight. This is our agenda for today. We'll talk about what STEP is, and then we'll hand it off to Rich Lyons, the UC Berkeley Chief I&E Officer, for an opening remark. And then we'll go to the meat of tonight, the startup pitches by our 10 teams from this fall cohort. And then the last 15 minutes, we'll have our winner announcements and also some closing remarks. So to begin, I'd love to ask if anyone know. Okay, sorry, 1 second. Here. Okay. If my slides will keep moving. Okay, let me pull my slides back up. 1 second. Having some technical difficulty here. Okay, there we go. So sorry about that. Want to ask all of you, what do these companies have in common? To the next slide. Apple, eBay, Lime, SoftBank, and Tesla. Some of you may already know that all of these companies were co-founded by UC Berkeley alumni. So wanted to start with that by saying that UC Berkeley, our school, is ranked second in the world right now in venture-backed startups. We're really proud of this. And our alumni have founded great companies. And currently our school has 48 graduate programs that are ranked top 10 in the country. And we started STEP 3 years ago, and it has become the largest incubator in UC Berkeley, the largest startup ecosystem in the world. And since 2019, we've achieved over 1,000. We've received over 1,000 applications from across the campus. We've supported over 500 co-founders and 125 multidisciplinary teams. Our StEP graduates have raised over $70 million. 14 startups have achieved that. And a lot of our teams, 5 of them have already entered Y Combinator and 2 in the Skydeck main cohort. And as you can see, we have teams that are made up of very diverse backgrounds, from technical and engineering, computer science, data science background to business, and from master's program, PhD, and undergraduate programs. StEP is a 10-week incubation program that connects students from across the campus with complementary skills to bring their ideas into the world. And through StEP, startups and founders and teams, they gain access to unparalleled sets of opportunities. They go from 0 to 1, finding their co-founders across different departments. They learn about the lean startup methodology. They get access to industry experts, to mentors, to in-kind perks from our partners such as AWS, HubSpot, Crowdbotics, and we have reputation across the campus, putting students into the founder seats and who have moved on from StEP onto programs like Launch or Skydeck and to other accelerator programs. Want to say thank you to the leadership team that's made this cohort possible, and also a special thank you to all of the mentors and judges and coaches that have supported us throughout this program. So with that, I would like to introduce Rich Lyons, the Chief Innovation and Entrepreneurship Officer at UC Berkeley. Rich was the Dean of Berkeley Haas, and he became the first Chief I&E Officer of UC Berkeley last year. Would like to bring up Rich now to say a few words about the I&E ecosystem at UC Berkeley.
Thank you, Maggie. Thanks for that. And thanks to all of the leadership of this remarkable program. I mean, I remember when StEP, well, many of us remember when StEP was first being initiated, and like so many wonderful things on campus, student leadership is really what made it happen and is what kept it continuing. So thank you for leading on that. If I can share my screen, I've got a couple of slides. They're more impressionistic slides. It's just sort of like, just look at the big picture. I don't want to go through a lot of detail. We don't have time for that. We do need to get into the startup pitches here. But I am going to share my screen and go through some slides here that I'm going to pull back to the beginning here. So real fast. You know, the I&E ecosystem, year 2000, you go back a few years, more than a few, but 20-ish, and we still have things on here, the Lester Center, and anyways, GSVC, but there just isn't much there that really qualifies. We did slides. This is the work of Laura Hassner. I work closely with Laura. And so we have it for 05 and 2010 and 2015 and today, but just fast forwarding to today, since we don't have much time, you can see StEP in there, sort of roughly the middle line, about 2/3 of the way over to the right. But the important point is, wow, 1,000 flowers bloom at Berkeley, this federated chaos model of advancing, not just in I&E, but Berkeley does it best that way always. And then the question is, I think that the reason my job exists, because my job didn't exist at Berkeley 2 years ago, is this idea of what would some added intentionality look like to this ecosystem? How do we make it more than the sum of the parts sort of a thing? How do we start to coordinate some things? Like, for example, inside the domain of life sciences entrepreneurship, we have the Innovative Genomics Institute, we have the new Baker Bioingenuity Hub, which I will talk about. We have QB3, we have a new dual degree in business and life sciences and so forth, right? And so how do these things interoperate is an important question. But the punchline is the same, is the punchline we essentially Maggie just presented to us. But I wanted to really give you a sense of a 20-year delta. And in fact, weekly, I'm not kidding. Weekly, we could add another icon to that last, again, impressionistic slide that I showed you. There's stuff all the time that's going on. And I'll talk about a few of those things. Maggie also mentioned this idea that, when it comes to venture funding, there's so many different ways to measure the entrepreneurial spirit in a university. Some of them are aimed more at the civic sector. Some of them are aimed more at the public sector, some at the private sector. And within those private sector aimed enterprises, there's some subset that get venture funded. So the point here is not that venture funding is the be all and the end all, but if we do look at venture funding, because it is very measurable, there are lots of data, the data that Maggie mentioned. Now these actually are PitchBook data that were the most recent 2 weeks ago. A new survey just came out. But nothing changed qualitatively. I guess the reason I put this up here is Maggie already mentioned it's sort of number 2, but look at how much space there is between number 2 and number 3 and number 4. Quite a big delta. And Berkeley has been gaining on number 1 for many years. And anyways, the strength is there. Of course, Berkeley's got more students. Graduate students is roughly equal to these other schools. Undergraduates, Berkeley has more. But, so anybody thinking about investing time, a venture capitalist or others in an ecosystem, the fraction of people who go into entrepreneurship is not really what they're looking at. They're looking at the flow, and the flow at Berkeley remains remarkably strong. All right, so I'm definitely not going to walk you through this slide, and I'll send it to you, by the way, if anybody wants to send me an email. I can send you these slides and other things. But sometimes people ask me, like that second slide you just shot up there, Rich, curate for us, right? Take a stand. What are the top 7? And we can disagree about this. Like NSF I-Core isn't on there. I-Core, especially Berkeley's programming of I-Core, is really very, very important, and I think quite differentiated. I-Core is something that's very, very nationwide. All the things I've got on this slide are very, very Berkeley specific. But I'm gonna take that slide down now. I just, the reason they're listed the way they are. By the way, this is not first most important, second most important. These are in no particular order. But many of these things are things that you will know. But I'm going to get rid of that slide and just say a few things about some of the recent changes. If somebody said, "All right, give me three hot stories right now," here's number one. Number one, which is on that list. The Research Infrastructure Commons, the Berkeley RIC. If you haven't heard about it, I'm gonna drop a website in the chat here, right there. So what is the Berkeley RIC? Here's the idea. So now I'm pitching you. All right, I'm pitching you. You are a startup founder. You might still be at Berkeley. You might be somewhere else in the Bay Area or anywhere, right? But if we thought about what is the capacity utilization? So here's my pitch. What is the capacity utilization? In this share economy concept, right? The share economy is using vehicles very differently than we used to, or it's using the built environment in a very different way. Now the question is, what is the capacity utilization of UC Berkeley's scientific instrumentation? How about on the weekends? How about on Saturdays and Sundays and so forth? All right, here's the pitch, right? An app where you can go on and say, I can access a mass spectrometer, DNA sequencer, name your instrument, on Saturday, these hours, for this price, fee for service. I own all the IP that comes out of any work I do on that machine. And there's a DocuSign click-through contract. It doesn't have to go through legal and then through risk and then through business contracts. It's like, bang, super efficient. So, the idea is, wow, we kind of think of the ecosystem as what's going on at Berkeley proper. But part of the ecosystem is how much of the neighboring ecosystem is going to get gravitationally pulled into Berkeley, because we can partner in really fresh ways. And of course, generate revenues that go back into the investing into that scientific instrumentation. It's sort of like, so is the app built yet? No, it isn't, but we're 70 or 80% of the way there. You'll see an FAQ if you want to go to that website. But for those of you that are building science-based companies and need to do some more translational research, this is a pretty nice thing to have available. Okay, the Berkeley RIC, brand new. I think we're out in front of every university in the country. I'm ready to be corrected. But I think Berkeley's moving much faster at this than anybody I've seen. Other universities are saying, how did you do it? What are you doing? Tell me more about the vision, etc. All right, that's number one. Number two, Baker Bioingenuity Hub. If you haven't walked by the space right next to Cafe Strata there at College and Bancroft, just down the street, there are companies in there now. The companies started, these are the tenant startups. It's a convergence incubator. It's not just life sciences. So it's got a thesis. What's the thesis? The thesis is convergence between life sciences and engineering, the convergence between life sciences and the physical sciences, life sciences and the information sciences, etc. And so tough tech, hard tech, whatever you want to call it, it's different. And this is not WeWork space. This is not office space. This is bench space. This is labs. This is science. And the tenants that are doing science in Baker Bioingenuity Hub, and they're going to be over 50 in steady state, 50 of these startup companies, they own all the IP. So that takes different rules, different IP rules. Baker Bioingenuity Hub is part of Berkeley. It's not something separate, legally separate. And the companies that generate IP within it own the IP. It's like, ooh, this is getting really interesting, like the fuzzy boundary of the university. Ollie Williamson, the last Haas faculty member to win a Nobel Prize, won his Nobel Prize in economics for precisely this concept. When do organisms, what determines the boundary of an organization, and when does it become blurry, and why does it become blurry? And these are very productive reasons for Berkeley's boundary to become blurry. Last comment, I'll be super quick on this one and turn it back over to Maggie. We just launched an equity solutions group. The heck is that? So equity meaning stocks, equity. Berkeley is taking equity in consideration as compensation for much more of what it does than it used to. So our licensing negotiations involve much more often now, when we're licensing to startups, an equity share for Berkeley, and usually a little lower share in the licensing revenue. We're receiving equity for incubator space in Skydeck. We're receiving equity for research participation in the Bear Lab, the Berkeley Artificial Research Lab. Interesting trade. New transactions. It's not just about equity for IP anymore. Equity for space, equity for services, equity for research. Boom. What does the equity portfolio look like? We need to create an equity solutions group. We just hired a new director of the equity solutions group. His name is Omar Karshi. If anybody wants to meet him, happy to introduce you. I should stop there. We're on a rocket ship, and thanks to StEP for being a really important piece of that program.
Thank you so much, Rich, for being here and talking to us about what's new, what's up and coming in the INE ecosystem at UC Berkeley. So with that, I will share my screen again. Okay, there we go. So now we'll move on to the meat of tonight, the startup pitches. So just some general logistics for the showcase. Each team will have 5 minutes to pitch, followed by 3 minutes of Q&A led by the judges. And after all 10 pitches, judges will be moved to a separate breakout room to decide on the top 3 startups. And we also have an audience choice. So for those of you who are watching this showcase day today, please vote for your favorite startup. We'll be sharing the form, the poll, and YouTube shortly. So I want to welcome tonight's judges. We have Rhonda Schrader, the Executive Director of Berkeley Haas Entrepreneurship Programs. She is also an Executive Director of NSF I-Corp Bay Area and co-faculty of UC Launch Accelerator. Next, we have Su Shu, the Managing Director of Amino Capital. Her focus areas of seed and Series A investment include data-driven solutions. Some of her portfolio companies include ChimeBank, Webflow, We, and Grail. And finally, we have Brendan Farwell, the General Partner of X Fund, an early-stage venture capital firm built to back entrepreneurs who think laterally and experiment across disciplines. Some of Brandon's investment involvements have include software investments such as Box, Yammer, Twilio, as well as frontier investments including Planet, Tesla, and SpaceX. Stars of the show tonight, we have 10 teams that will be pitching. We have Adhesoft, Brainty.ai, Chaser, C-Sync, Handle, House Shares, Lunar Kinetic, Open Lab, Pragmatical, and Sycamore. So these teams will be pitching in alphabetical order. And with that, I would like to bring up Adhesoft. And let me stop sharing my screen here. Team Adhesoft, are you guys ready?
Yes, we are.
All right, go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah, and today my team, including myself and Natasha's, and we excited to share with you about Adhesoft. And our goal is to automate the construction industries. Let's make sure we share this. So just pretend you are on a construction projects. There are the owners, the architects and engineers, that design the buildings. We have the general contractors, we call GCs, and specialty contractors. Each of these companies come into this project with their own enterprise project management solutions that they have been using for years, but they are own difference. And this solution don't really share any common API or data standards. And because of that, each company has its own silo of data, the way I showed here. Why they trying to build the same exact building? And the problem really happened when the specialty contractor has a questions and submit a document called request for informations, in short form it's RFI. So he has to write this RFI email to the general contractors. The GC have to retype this into his system and email that to the architect and engineers. Then after that, the architect and engineers have to answer it and then email back to the GCs, and the GC have to log into his systems and do the same thing for the specialty contractors. So as you can imagine, on a typical construction project, for example, like Juho on Berkeley campus, there are thousands of these RFIs like this. So it's really inefficient. And so our goal is to build an integration apps that connects all of this solution together so that when one RFI is created, it is shared across multiple solutions automatically. It is estimated that it's a $16 billion problem for the US construction industries due to the lack of integrations between these solutions. And as you can imagine now with the new $1 trillion infrastructure bill, this problem will increase dramatically for the construction industries. Next, my partner, we're gonna talk about how we will approach the business model of this.
So in terms of the monetization, we're imagining that we'll have an initial setup fee followed by a monthly subscription. And there will also be options for additional customization to suit the business needs. Next slide. Our backgrounds, we come from industry focused on construction as well as oil and gas, and have experience in software development as well as technology development and deployment. Next slide. So at this point, we have an initial prototype that's been focused really on a plug and play solution. So developing an approach that will very simply integrate into the existing system. And this initial prototype has been piloted. So we will be building the information that we've gained from that pilot into additional development. Next slide. In terms of the ask, we're looking for $275,000 to focus on additional development and then largely on sales and marketing, as well as the branding. In terms of how we would move forward, imagining that we would have funding today, we would focus on this development, followed by an initial customer pilot, and ultimately deployment out to enterprise customers. Next slide. At this point, we'd like to stop and take any questions. Thank you.
All right, I'll kick it off. Great presentation, excellent description of the problem and the solution. My question for you is, and I didn't see this, how many interviews have you done? How much have you validated what you presented? And have you found, is this a top 1 or 2 problem for construction companies?
Sure. Yeah. So since I work in the, currently for general contractors too, and I talked to a few other specialty contractors, 5 interviews with, the company that I work with too. This problem exists in a lot of pretty much owned companies. The reason is the solution that they, this company have. This solution company try to have a closed system so that they can, keep the customer in there. So nobody really interact with each others. And this problem has been exist for really long times, and people just accept that as a fact and choose to do it manually.
But is it a top 1 or 2 problem for the contractors, or is it more like, a 5, 6, or 7 problem?
I think from from the people that I talk with, a lot of company moving into the data and where technology has been improving a lot in the construction industry, this problem has become their top priorities because either across their partners that they work with or either internally within their company too. So definitely is priorities for the people that I talk to.
Thanks.
Hey, Ocean, thank you. Great job. To supplement Rhonda's question, I would just suggest to kind of de-risk the proposition even further and perhaps put meat on the bone behind why this is a number 1 or 2 problem is to go to market with a development customer or somebody that you can develop the product alongside of that is, burning with respect to a need for something like this, such that, $500K or $600K an ask that you have down the line, that particular investor will be able to kind of ask that development customer and be able to poke and prod at their problem set to be able to ultimately understand, is this something that, is a number 1 problem we have budget for, we need to spend money on this now, not in a year, and kind of go to market that way, because this is a notoriously difficult with respect to sales cycle industry. Construction is operating, unfortunately, still in the Stone Age. But that would certainly compel me more as an early stage investor, seeing that kind of development customer early traction. Not 12 of them, not 24 of them, because you don't have the time for that, but 1 or 2.
That's such a great point, Brandon. Sorry, I was just going to say, I think that, that kind of goes to the idea of having this pilot and having that initial customer buy-in in that first pilot would hopefully get us that buy-in overall, as well as a market entry that would really sort of fulfill that need of having a partner that we develop alongside with. Sorry, Ocean, I cut you off there.
Yeah, I think you hit a lot of that. And I want to add that, some of the potential customer that we targeting are the folks who don't have their own in-house development team or data teams. So we somewhat get in the door, help them build these first solutions and get that access to the API, the data structures. And then from that, find some commonality with other companies and scale it from there. So that's our strategy to penetrate there and acquire the customers.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the judges?
Yeah, I really appreciate the 2 other judges actually tackled the challenges here, but I really like the idea. There is really a lot of construction companies, especially data analytic platforms, actually got funding, and Agora is one of them. And then I think most of the companies that actually being successful, they involved not just the data workflow, but also transaction. So do you actually, in your pipeline, do you actually think of involving more stakeholder or just for internal use?
Yeah, so we foresee that the challenge is to get in the door to this customer, because there's a lot of legacy solution out there that don't have API. So we believe that once we get this quick win, get our foot in the door to prove our propositions, then we be able to scale to other workflow and process that help these customers automate the process in reduce waste. So yeah, that's definitely in our visions to do that too.
Great. Thank you, team at HeSoft. We'll move on to the next team, BrainT.ai.
Sorry. Okay, can you guys see my slides?
Yes.
All right, hey everyone. Our population is aging and 1/3 of us will die with dementia. Think about it. It could be our parents, our family, or the people among us. So today we're presenting BrainT.ai, which is focusing on curing aging diseases with advanced brain imaging. We're starting by predicting dementias. Every year in the US, dementia costs more than $300 billion on the healthcare system. And every year there are over 500,000 new cases in the US alone. It is estimated that $64,000 of total cost per patient can be saved by early diagnosis. However, doctors are still conducting multiple diagnosis tests, which are costly, repetitive, and not sensitive. We believe that BrainT.ai can provide the best solutions for dementia early diagnosis and prediction. The total market we're addressing is, as mentioned, $300 billion. For every patient saving $64,000, our service addressable market is $32 billion. We're facing only a few competitions in this vertical, as the machine learning and related technologies just built up in the recent years. Our solution is a cloud-based software, combine MRI technologies that are used now and AI-based computing model. The images collected by MRI are processed together, identified with key features, and generated as an easy-to-read diagnosis and prognosis reports for doctors and patients. The healthcare providers can easily look at what patient scans are, along with the estimated probabilities of the diseases. Most importantly, with the current patented modeling that is generated for more than 1,000 patients for each features, the accuracy is up to 90%. Current ways, which are manually judged by radiologists, can only reach to 70% of accuracy. With that large increase in accuracy, we can increase the patient's quality of care and reduce significant costs to the healthcare system. In addition to the product, we also have a strong leadership team behind the product to support this. Our co-founders include a professor from Stanford University who has more than a decade of research in this dementia area. In addition, we're joined by advisors from the University of Rochester who are specialized also in this area. Our team is also further contributed to by MBA from Berkeley and also collaboration with Stanford University, University of Rochester, and Campbell Health Partners. Looking at our competitors and how they stack up against all of these diseases, we see Altoida and Cognitivity Neurosciences. They use a mobile-based screening app that are interactive. The outcomes of those are, however, still upstream of MRI scans that are needed to fully predict and diagnose the patients. Therefore, we believe that they're not as clinically relevant as our MRI model, which is directly relevant to the patient and gives doctor the most comprehensive reading of patient's brain. Additionally, there is a Canadian-based startup, Avalon AI, using similar techniques. However, we're able to build a stronger team with experienced co-founder and advisors. Looking into the future, we can see large market opportunities exist. After addressing initial market of dementia, we'll be able to transfer our AI model into other markets with additional minimal costs, such as psychiatric disorders, cerebral vascular diseases, and also therapeutics clinical trials. Our current business model is to license our software with healthcare providers to improve value-based care. The data we collect from the patients can be utilized to improve our AI algorithm and accuracy, as well as helping us to expand to other applications, as mentioned in the previous slide. Until now, we're able to form our team and build our prototype. In the next 6 months, we'd like to develop our cloud-based platform, validate our model with 100+ new patients as proof of concept, and build partnerships with 3 healthcare facilities. We're looking for funding from NIH SBIR Phase 1 as well. Thank you very much we're coming here for guidance and support. If you're interested, please contact us with this email, and I'm happy to answer all the questions.
Sure, I'm happy to start. Can you highlight a little bit about how the initial sort of data or image acquisition will transpire, given a lot of these computer vision kind of detection systems rely on lots of, reams of input image data to be productive on actually diagnosing anomalies, issues, that kind of thing?
So first of all, this prediction is based on more than 10 years of research. So basically that you separate this disease into different features, and then all of our algorithm is actually built to predict different features. And then, each of the features will have different prediction accuracy, and we're trying to improve the accuracy for all the features. And then after we're getting all the features being predicted, we're able to bundle them together for certain disease prediction. And also, we also want to provide all these features prediction to the doctor, because when the doctor look at all these features, that they may have a better understanding of the patient situation. So as of now, we already have the algorithm for all these different features, and then we're trying to bundle them together, especially for the Alzheimer's disease prediction. And also we're recruiting new patients. So all of these features, the model build up is based on thousands of patients' data. And in the future, we want to use our new prototype, the bundled product, to test the new patients, sort of as a proof concept for our product.
Yeah, I really like the idea, and especially in terms of a stroke, there is already Waze.ai, which is one of my favorite company in the space, and they already became gold standard all around the world. And but the challenges here is that you probably will sell to IDN, and then I know Kaiser is one of the pioneer in terms of IDN, and we also invest in some of the companies that are selling to IDN, and then it seems like the sales cycle is extremely long. And then in terms of but it's quite impressive. You already have 1,000 patient scans. So I wanted to understand more, how you could actually, bump up the numbers, and what do you think your business model would be?
So the way we're thinking about it, that if we're selling it to the insurance company, that will be an extremely long process. And then without any of the proved product in the market, it's very hard to convince them to purchase our product. So our initial step is to use our connection with the hospitals at the University of Rochester and Stanford University to start to partner with them, and then start to, let them try our product or even licensing our product. And then eventually we're going to expand it to other hospitals. And as more and more healthcare facilities, being familiar with our product or start to licensing our product, then we have the leverage to negotiate with the healthcare provider, to insurance company, and then to let them take us into account. Mm-hmm. So that's our way to avoid. We talk to healthcare providers. Many of them really love this idea, and they think they could really help them with the management plan. But we also talk to some healthcare like insurer, but they're like very hard to deal with, because it would take a very long process for them to understand or reimburse a new technology.
Yeah, so basically there's no easy way to understand what the radiologist says of patients, and doctor need to spend too much time on what the radiologist report means. So I guess what you can provide definitely can bring value.
Great. Thank you, team BrainT.ai, and thank you, Sue and Brandon, for the questions. Next up, we have Chaser.
Hey, everybody. We have the last slides that are still up. If I think that we need to stop sharing our screen.
Sorry.
No problem. Perfect. I actually don't have slides. I'm just going to be presenting this with just my face. I hope that that you don't get too bored. I'm going to be going gallery mode, so I'll be able to look at all of you guys. And I want to start by asking a quick question to everybody. Can you please raise your hand if you've ever sent a document to a colleague only to find out that weeks later they still haven't read it? Seeing quite a few hands going up. I'm not sure if you guys have gallery mode on, but just take my word for it. Some people using the raising hand feature in Zoom, appreciate that. The real problem here is that you probably spent a ton of time writing these documents, and it was probably really important for your business, which is why you put so much effort into it. And the fact that nobody reads it means that all that time is wasted, and all that critical information never really gets shared, despite you sending it out to everybody. And what really sucks is that as the sender, you're the one left with the burden of making sure that all of your documents get read. So I don't know about you, but me personally, I'm always setting reminders for myself to remind other people to read the things that I send them. And it's a painful process that no one really likes to be a part of. Even if you do remember to remind a colleague, it's an awkward conversation that you don't really like to have. Hey, have you read the thing that I sent you? You kind of feel like that overbearing colleague. And this is why we're building Chaser. When you send a document through Chaser, the recipient gets the document and then a little button at the bottom that says acknowledge. When they're done reading the document, they click that button to say that they're done. And for them, it's not really too different from what they're used to. As the sender, though, you get a whole bunch of new benefits. You get a list of everybody that you sent the document to and who has and hasn't clicked that acknowledge button. And most importantly, Chaser is going to automatically chase down these people who haven't clicked that button. So you no longer have to remember to remind people to read the things that you send them. And forgive me for a second while I share some of my prejudice against salespeople, but this is a experience that I'm sure a lot of us have. Salespeople kind of have a reputation for ignoring important things that are sent to them. You know, maybe you get an important document in your email and you look at it and say, you know what, I don't really have the time right now, or somebody asked me about this later, I can kind of pretend that I didn't notice it. But if you're the chief of staff for a company of 100 people, you don't really have time to go and follow up with every single salesperson or every single individual that you're working with to make sure they all read it. You kind of need a virtual assistant, and that's kind of what Chaser is. When you're the chief of staff and you use Chaser to send your document instead, you no longer have to worry about following up with everybody. But let's try to understand it from the salesperson's perspective too. Can you please raise your hand if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the number of documents that are being sent to you? I'm going to scroll through. Yeah, we see a lot of hands up. It's unfortunately, this is a problem on both sides. As much as, you know, you might get frustrated by sending documents to people and then not being receptive to it and not quickly getting on it. On the other end of it, you're being constantly inundated with lots of tasks and lots of things in your inbox. And it's tough to keep track of all of it. You might have Slack, you might have email, and you might have 1,000 other platforms that you get messages on. And it's hard to really know where to find the really important stuff. With Chaser, you have a single inbox that has all of your most important documents in one place. And if you're ever really overwhelmed with all the things that are being sent to you, you can say, snooze this document, remind me in 3 days when I know I'll have more time. And at that point, hopefully you'll be able to give the document the attention that it needs from you. So we want to price Chaser at just $3 per user per month. We think this is a price that the finance team won't even blink at. But with 61 million employees working at SMBs in the US, you know, think about that chief of staff with a few hundred people in their company. That's a total addressable market of $2 billion in annual recurring revenue in the US alone. Our MVP just got off the ground quite literally yesterday. We launched the MVP and we're working with a few companies that are interested in solving this problem for their staff. So please reach out to me if you want to be part of a team excited to solve a problem that we're all dealing with. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Josh. I'll kick it off. Great description of the problem. Great way to engage the audience. And we get a thorough description of the product. But let's talk customers. Which industries and segments have you found have the shark bite problem here? Like, who are going to be your first 10 big customers? Tell me what you're thinking about that.
Definitely. So there's a few different ways that we're thinking about it. And the biggest thing is that we want to focus on people who have soft power within their company. So chief of staff is an example I often use, but product managers is another one. You might be dealing with 5 different teams and you need to get approval from engineering, from sales, from executives, maybe from clients too, if depending on how your company works. And you're not their manager, so asking them and insisting that they respond to something right away might be difficult. So sending it through Chaser makes that a lot easier for you. In terms of industries, our inkling is that tech will be the easiest to adopt this early, but that remains to be tested. Any other questions?
Yeah, Josh, what's the kind of go-to-market plan for this solution? What do you want to do? Call it, run me through 6 months to a year.
For sure. So we see the best avenue of getting into businesses is through the sender. We definitely want to explore top-down approaches as well, where we go to the CEO go to the executive team, go to HR maybe, and try to sell them on this. But we think that we're adding the most value to somebody who's kind of frustrated with this recurring problem that they're dealing with, and making this a freemium offering where they can just use it themselves, send it out to people within their company to solve the next time that they're sending a document, and then have, by virtue of them trying it out for free, exposing the company to it. And once there's enough people using it, then we can figure out a way to say, hey, your whole company's using this all the time. It's time to start paying for it.
Yeah, that's like the classic bottoms up kind of adoption playbook, right? Sort of pioneered by your Dropboxes and Boxes of the world. If you can get that organic viral adoption flywheel going, by power to you, that would be phenomenal. So I think you're thinking about it right.
Appreciate that. I wish I could take credit for that idea. I'm definitely copying some successful companies.
There's playbooks out there. They're tried and true.
Definitely. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. One last question.
Yeah, I also echo, and then we really like, so-called consumer SaaS, like Zoom or Webflow or Rippling, that kind of model. And then, but you're a consumer by nature then. So I would definitely want to, have a look and feel of the product. Yeah, it has to be pixel perfect.
I agree. I think our MVP is looking decent, but as I learned in StEP, it's really important to just launch before everything's completely ready to go. But if you're interested, I'd be happy to give you a walkthrough.
Cool.
Thanks so much, guys.
Great. Thank you, Team Chaser. Next up, we have C-Sync. Go ahead, Team C-Sync. Andreas, you're on mute. Okay.
Yeah, fixed that now. Okay. Sorry, so can you see the slides?
Yes.
All right. So hello, everyone. We are C-Sync, and our startup uses data-driven methods to promote the use of diversified natural carbon sinks. So we believe that the anthropogenic climate change is one of the most urgent and complex challenges of our lifetime. The current regulatory environment on climate change is changing rapidly, and around the globe, they're incentivizing CO2 capture projects. As a result, for example, just this year, the price of 1 ton of carbon in the European Union ETS cap and trade system market has increased by more than 100%. We aim to provide companies with more solutions in tackling CO2 emissions in order to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. A lot of the existing carbon offsetting companies are planting trees. However, forests are vulnerable to wildfires and diseases, leading to even more carbon emissions. On the other hand, wetlands such as peatlands are an excellent example of an ecosystem that can sequester massive amounts of carbon, and there are a lot of degraded peatlands due to peat over-extraction that can present great potential for restoration projects for carbon sinks.
So because recent legislation changes are giving incentives and making it easier for the companies to invest in carbon capture projects, and as mentioned by Andreas, planting trees is not the most sustainable and effective method of carbon offsetting. C-Sync is providing an alternative solution to the problem of excessive CO2 in the atmosphere for the companies. So what we're doing is by increasing the use of diverse ecosystems as natural carbon sinks instead of forest, for example, wetlands like mangrove and peatlands. And we're doing this by using machine learning and AI technologies on satellite image to first locate different natural carbon reserves. Then combining ecological and geographical data, we will have different machine learning models to predict and analyze on the potential of the located carbon sinks, providing information such as estimated development cost, coordination plan of the restoration, and the projection of the carbon absorption potential in order to help our clients to find the most cost-effective carbon sequestration projects.
In 2020, the carbon market size was estimated at $272 billion, and it has grown fivefold since 2017. The total estimated carbon sequestration market is estimated at approximately $8.4 billion and is also growing rapidly. The cost of 1 ton of carbon has also reached an all-time record as high as $75 per ton, with projections estimating the price climbing to more than $100 per ton by the year 2025. Our customers are two types of companies. Companies that emit carbon and therefore are mandated to perform carbon offsetting by participating in carbon markets. Examples of companies like these are electricity, gas transportation industries, and for example, Chevron, Shell, and PG&E. Using our AI technology, we provide such companies with carbon offset certifications with less cost and more carbon absorption. Another type of potential customer are the corporations that are supporting negative carbon emissions voluntarily, usually for PR purposes. We can provide truly unique ecosystems to invest as carbon sinks with no risks of wildfires and that are truly sustainable. The revenue from C-Sync comes from selling carbon offset certificates, data licensing, and of our proprietary data set, as well as consulting fees. The carbon removal and offset market has several companies that have a focus on specific ecosystems, for example, on agriculture, forestry, as well as marine-based ecosystems. The unique aspect of an advantage of C-Sync is our initial focus on peatlands. Peatlands sequester up to 20 times more carbon than other terrestrial ecosystems, making them a true sink without a cap on the amount of carbon sequestered.
So our team consists of graduate students in the field of business, ecology, climate science, bioengineering, and data science. We strongly believe in the use of technology to stop the detrimental effect of the climate change, and we invite you to join us in this journey. Now we're open to the Q&A sessions.
And thank you very much. That's our presentation.
Judges, any questions?
Go ahead, sorry.
Judges, go ahead.
Sure, I had a question on who the kind of overall target customer persona looks like for something like this. That I was kind of glossed over, I think, or maybe I missed it.
I think the ideal customer persona would be the person who is actually making decisions on regulatory and legislative decisions. So I think it would be the people that are dealing with environmental issues and also the person who deals with compliance in the company.
Okay, and have you spoken with? It seems like it's sort of boiling a lot of oceans here. Are you have you figured out a particular industry that you want to go tackle? Have you spoken with 50 customers? What kind of budget profile do they have? That also wasn't clear to me. Yeah, also we have already conducted some 20 or so interviews in relation. Most of those have been with researchers and academia, and we're currently enrolled in the I-Corps program, and we're doing more customer interviews with specific industries at the moment. And we're targeting particularly oil and gas and energy companies that are actually CO2 emitters. Great. I would encourage you to incorporate some of that into the pitch to make it a little bit more clear on go-to-market and kind of where you're focused.
Yeah, I'm super happy you guys are in I-Corps. I think you're going to learn a lot this week. And I think it is going to be very helpful for you to say our hypotheses about our go-to-market industry, are A, B, and C. Here's how we're going to test those. So I think you'll be able to say that with a lot more clarity at the end of the week. So yeah, great.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with the two other judges, and then just want to have my personal comments. And we have an investor who is actually leading the applied data scientist team at the Microsoft in Houston. And then, all those, big vendor of data and cloud. And then they actually mostly push their data scientists to be, instead of a general data scientist, and they want them to be applying data scientists. So, and many of them actually came from industry. And I saw that you have very strong industry experience. That is great. And also you seems like, but to me, it seems like selling to oil and gas industry is like comparing to the consumer SaaS is definitely super small. And it takes very long time for the sales cycle. And it's kind of like sometimes it will scare away VC like us. We are domain agnostic VC, we're data-driven, VC. And then I would say you probably will look for, domain-specific strategic investor, and then it probably will be a better approach for you.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. I mean, yeah, the thing is that the regulatory environment is changing really fast in this aspect. So there's going to be this more pressure that comes from legislation and regulation in order to implement more changes. So that's a good thing that is happening as well.
That's good to know.
So thank you, Team C-Sync and judges. Next up, we have Handle. Go ahead, Team Handle.
Thanks, Maggie. Let me just pull up our slides here. Second, please. Awesome. Can you see?
Yes.
Fantastic. Hey, everybody who's joining us online. My name is Kanak Kapoor, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Handle. Our rapidly growing venture aims to simplify the digital experience, starting with messaging and communications. On Thanksgiving Day, my smartphone home screen was looking much like this. I'd received tons of messages from family and friends, and it took me the best part of an hour to get through each and every single message through all the different apps as I open every app one by one. Does that sound familiar? Well, as it turns out, this is a daily and growing problem for many people who have top complaints revolving around inefficiencies, complexities, and fragmented social networks. The need has never been more apparent since there are over 240 published social media applications, and the average user has to manage 6 different accounts simultaneously. It's also important to note the trillions of dollars of sunk cost due to loss of productivity induced by cyberloafing. For this reason, I present to you our solution called Handle. The Handle app simplifies digital communications and saves you time by syncing and smartly prioritizing your messages across multiple social networks while you're on the move. So now you can finally manage your conversations in one place, pin those important notes, set those reminders, and conveniently send messages via multiple platforms, all simultaneously. Let's see how this works. After initial onboarding and one-time account setup, you can view all of your conversation across all synced platforms on the home screen. You simply need to click once to access any chat. Additionally, you can prioritize your inbox by filtering out conversations using custom groups displayed at the very top of the screen. Once you select these filters, you can easily click into any conversation and send an individual or group message with ease. And say that you receive an important message, but you don't want to lose it. You can just do a long press on that message and conveniently pin it or save it for later within the notes within the Handle app. Based on our research, this market is worth about $349 billion US, given that there are over 4.2 billion people accessing social media at least monthly using their mobile devices. The TAM is $150 billion US, assuming that 43% of people would be willing to pay for a monthly or annual subscription. Further, the SAM is $8.6 billion for the primary geographical market, which is here in the US. Our major competitors in this space are early stage social media aggregators and enterprise social media solutions. However, Handle still stands out from the rest. You see, existing services are not simple or efficient enough because you still need to switch between the different tabs corresponding to the different apps that you use. But you also don't have a way of filtering out or prioritizing your messages. Instead, not to mention the fact that there are a lot of competitors who offer just desktop versions of their applications, not mobile ones. So in order to execute our vision and stay ahead of the competition, we've brought together a highly motivated team of individuals with years of experience in business, advanced technologies, data science, and design. Together, we will ensure that your messages are handled with care. At Handle, we value simplicity and intend on making our base product accessible at no cost to anyone with a smartphone anywhere in the world. We will offer monthly subscriptions costing $8 per month and annual subscriptions costing $60 a year that will provide premium analytics without ads on top of the base offerings. Other sources of revenue will include message-based ads and partnerships as our user base grows. Based on this model, the ratio of user lifetime value to user acquisition cost is approximately 5. And this indicates that Handle has a potential to scale 5x while continuously fueling innovation. In terms of next steps, we're working towards phases 2 and 3, which require less than 1 year of development on the back end, utilizing the leading federated messaging protocol called Matrix. Our goal here is for initial release of the app for iOS users by the first half of 2023, before iterating further for future releases. And in order to achieve these milestones, we anticipate strategic spending on engineering and operations along with marketing. Specifically, we're looking to hire engineers, designers, integrate and bridge social media within Handle, invest in hosting and cybersecurity, and purchase hardware. At this stage, we request $500,000 to cover initial engineering and operations expenses, mentorship for business model development, and technical guidance in order to further develop the product. From day one, Handle's mission has been to reduce complexity of communication and connect people all across the digital world. We hope that you can join us on this mission. Thank you so much.
Very well done. Is it, I want to make sure I pronounce your name right. Is it Kanak? Kanak?
Hey, Brandon. Yeah, it's Kanak.
Kanak. Great. Thank you, Kanak. Again, very well done. May I ask kind of a technical question? To what extent, for the product to work, do you need to have access to kind of open APIs that these large digital social media platforms have? To what extent, like, will they hopefully remain open, right? Because if they close them off for whatever reason, that really puts Handle in a pretty jeopardized position. Just curious how that activity works.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So as Kanak mentioned before, we're built on Matrix, which is an open source federated messaging protocol. And basically a lot of startups in our space are already building on top of Matrix because it bridges openly to multiple APIs for major apps like Facebook's apps, Messenger, WhatsApp, Twitter, Slack, you name it. And basically, the mission of this open source messaging protocol is to essentially keep it open by using some tricks. Essentially, what you do is you can send a message through one service and the other person receives it through another service, but actually the message is essentially puppeted across this unified protocol, which is Matrix.
I see. Okay. So as long as Matrix has the ability to read, write text messages, right? Because if you type them in Handle, they have to ultimately get pushed through to, Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever. It has to work both ways. It can't be, it can't be just read. It has to be read, write. As long as Matrix has that functionality for now, again, assuming these APIs stay open and their hack continues to be possible, will you be alive?
And in fact, I want to clarify also.
Kana can clarify that,
real quick, that there is read and receive capability as well. So like you can receive these messages, but you can also send those messages also. On top of that, some of the competitors have also explored these options with Matrix. So we know it's a viable solution. And then on top of that, we know that there are about 17 different platforms that have 300 million users, and the majority of them are now available with their APIs on Matrix. So it's definitely something that's scaling continuously.
Okay, thank you.
We have 30 seconds for your last question.
So thank you. Discord became like super successful because it's game native. And then what do you think, your first cohort of, users will be?
I think our first cohort are people who have definitely an overwhelming sort of sentiment because they have a lot of different networks that they need to be part of. We anticipate young professionals and honestly anyone who is in like the mid-level career because they need to communicate with people all across the world. So people who are in those kind of demographics are people who we would be targeting.
Congrats to this team on all the MNGs. I love working with MNGs and it's just you guys did a great job. Congrats.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. Thank you so much, everybody. Please vote for us.
I agree.
All right.
Second to Rhonda's point. Well done.
Thank you, judges and Team Handle. Next up, we have Team House Shares.
Good afternoon, everybody. Do you see the screen?
I still see connect screen.
So the other one stopped sharing?
Okay, there we go.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. We are House Shares. We are aiming to solve a problem that has become like worldwide problematic, and is that homeownership has become an unattainable dream. And this is because house prices have been increasing really fast compared to income of middle class. And this is the way that people actually are able to generate wealth, which has become almost impossible. And millennials are also very interested in being homeowners. Sometimes the people say that they don't like to be homeowners, but this is not the case. Young people want to have their house of their dreams, but they are unable to do it. And this is especially because the down payment is almost impossible to save. In the States, the average of a down payment is 27 years for a home of a medium income. And the people also feel that renting is a waste of money. This is what we keep hearing in our surveys and interviews. And this is why we developed a system that is a completely new financial model to buy a house, buy shares with no down payment or no mortgage loan. What people do is that they choose a home, they just start renting it, and they start buying the shares of this property. This is like a saving on this home, and the shares appreciate with the value of the property. The lease is diminishing as they buy more shares, so they are paying less rent, and the operational expenses are proportional to the part of the home that they have acquired. The system is completely liquid. What we do is that if they sell, they want to leave and they want to change home, they just sell the shares back to us. If they find another property within the portfolio, they can just port these shares to the new property. And in times of distress, they can actually pay the rent using the shares that they have acquired. Once they have purchased 100% of the shares, then the property is transferred. We have a patent pending. And also what we achieve with this model is that people save time and money with us in Colombia, where we live in South America. We attain 2 years less in savings of up to 20% in the cash flow of the payments for acquiring a home with our system. This, of course, these benefits depend on each market of the market interest that they have and the loan to value. This model is a two-side model. On the other side, we have a regular REIT, where the investors that we are aiming at are just family offices or institutional investors, but the large market is in the retail, and that is the aim that we have for solving problems for people that are actually buying homes to rent to have a secondary income. The system has benefit, and it's also because the vacancy tends to go down since people perceive their home as their own, so they don't move as often. And also delinquency tends to go to zero since we have the shares as collateral for the payment of the rent. In times of distress, which is a question that we get often, what happens when the market crashes? House shares is a completely safe system compared to the mortgage that we have in the world. It's non-speculative. The demand is real, so the house is based on the price of the rent that people are actually paying. If they don't pay the rent, we have the collateral of the shares, and incentives are aligned, not like in the case of the mortgage. When they delinquent, then they start a whole foreclosure process. This is the largest asset class in the world. In just Latin America, when we are starting, this is a $5 trillion, and in the US, this is a 35 trillion market. The way we make money is by a subscription fee we charge to the house, which is the end user, and also by charging a management fee for the property management and a structuring fee as any regular REIT does. The founders team is Diego and myself. We have like 40 plus years of experience in real estate financing and entrepreneurship, and we came up with this model, and we are developing it. We are looking for help of bringing this to the market, and especially to the U.S. market. We are looking for $2 million, of which 25% is the venture capital, and the other 75% is going to be represented in houses that we want to acquire to test the model. This is what we have, and we are open for questions. Thank you.
It's a very complicated asset class on many fronts. Can you help me better understand the customer? You said there's a subscription fee, the house sharer. Can you walk me through that slide? Yeah, this one right here. Can you walk me through that again? Maybe I didn't quite comprehend the subscription model that you.
So the housener, just to be part of the model, to be able to rent and be part of the system, they are going to be charged $10 to $20 per month. That is in the case that we cannot structure the REIT by ourselves. If we work with REITs that are already in the market, that is the way we are going to do it. If we are able to just start our own REIT, then we maybe not are going to require to charge the housener any subscription fee.
Got it. And what do you need to start your own REIT? I imagine there's quite a bit of compliance and regulatory hurdles you have to jump through to do that.
In many markets, that is the case, and it's because, of course, we want to have a portfolio of properties to offer to the end market. But that depends on the market, and if we can work with the already existing REITs, then we don't have to do it.
Right. That seems like a quicker jump start to market.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
We have 1 more minute for questions from judges, if there are any. Okay, all right. Thank you, Team House Shares. Up next, we have Lunar Kinetic.
Can everyone see our screen? No, I'm muted. We should be good.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Awesome. All right. Good evening, folks. We have really good news for you guys. Right now, there are companies and countries working together in hope that we can land another person on the moon. The moon is very attractive, and the way that we can look at that is by doing different type of analysis. For us, we look at the market of the moon. After doing a lot of research, we have found that by 2040, the lunar market cap is expected to be $170 billion. This is a very conservative estimate based on 3 segments: transportation, which include going from Earth to the moon and moon to beyond. Lunar data, that includes all of the weather forecasting, connectivity, Wi-Fi. Just imagine the moon's going to be another satellite that we have. And lastly, resources. The moon has a lot to offer underneath its icy surface. We want to go there and understand what it has to offer, and also even find out new materials that we never looked at it once again. So we know that the moon is attractive. In front of you, that's the roadmap that NASA set out. We are at the pivot point. Next year in 2022, we're expecting to have 3 landers going to the moon. By 2024, we have at least 15 funded missions already completed. In 2026, we're looking at a lunar base being built on the moon. Now, the picture is very nice, but we have to look at the problem of going to the moon, which is energy. The thing about energy is that we're really good at distributing, really good at generating it, but we're not so good at distributing. People talk about bringing, cables, power lines, stuff that we have on Earth to the moon, but the problem is we have a high launch cost that we have to cover. The heavier the materials, the higher, the more amount that you have to pay. For 1 kilometer, you have to pay $250 million. So that means the 10,000 kilometer circumference of the moon, that'll be billions, if not trillions of dollars. Second issue is that our current system has very low mobility, meaning you have to be physically contact with power lines and wherever you get your sources from, which limit our ability to just explore and understand the moon. That's why we're looking at different solution for this.
So let's talk about our solution. And let's use a specific mission scenario. NASA has a Watts on the Moon Centennial Challenge. Its focus is on lunar moon mining. It has mining, a water refinery, and an oxygen plant all in one operation. Using traditional power distribution, we would use cables in between all of those, which are really heavy. 1 kilometer is $250 million. Now, if we look at our solution, we have our power distribution network that's cableless. We can connect to that water refinery and support 1 kilowatts of continuous energy and support the oxygen plant at 5 kilowatts. We also provide material transfer. So that water refinery will get its regolith from the moon mining without a rover transporting it. And once we've processed all of that water and oxygen, we can transfer that to a ship refueling station, at which point that can take off to Mars and support our future exploration. And while we're doing all of that, we still can support rovers and science landers and lunar bases and even space tourism with our tech. So let's talk a little bit about the costs. Those rovers and those cables come out to around 2,800 kilograms for our competitors. That's $326 million that we'd have to pay for our customer. Our system is 160 kilograms. That costs $20 million. That's cost savings of $306 million. So when we look at our revenue opportunities, we have power distribution, we have material transportation, and we even have product sales, because we're going to sell the customer our receivers. And then if they want a custom solution, we'll license it to them. So our development milestones are for next year, we're going to submit a proposal to NASA through that Watts on the Moon challenge and finish building our first prototype and testing it. We'll have a seed round for $3 million. For 2024, we'll have our prototypes 2 and 3 built, and then we'll have them tested under simulated lunar conditions, again with NASA in the Watts on the Moon challenge. At that point, our revenue will be about $1.3 million, and our Series A will be at $15 million. In 2026, we'll have completed qualification testing on the moon, again with NASA. We'll also be doing our first commercial mission, and we'll be expecting revenue at $46 million annually. Our Series B will be $50 million. I'm Scott Ziegler. I'm a Master's of Engineering student at UC Berkeley, studying mechanical engineering. I have 2 years of experience in the electrical sector as a design engineer and 1 patent for a sensor system I designed.
And my name is Vu Vuong. I am also a Master of Engineering student at UC Berkeley. I've always been interested in space, and I worked for about 2 years in space. So thank you so much for listening to us. We'll take any questions you have.
A lot of progress at Startup Disco, guys. Wow.
Thank you.
I am impressed. That's great. But still, I have a question. Will your number one customer be NASA, or will it be a private, one of the many emerging private companies? What are your current hypos on that?
In the next 3 years, we're going to be focusing on NASA to get through all the testing. Since that Watts on the Moon challenge will actually cover our testing costs, we'll work hand in hand with them. Talking with those small private companies that would be interested in using our tech, they would want to see qualification testings on the moon before they'd feel comfortable using it. And at that point,
you validated that with them?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have. We have talked to ex-NASA director and also people in the program. So.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, guys. What's the plan for getting your infrastructure up into space to begin with? Given how launch is generally pretty bottlenecked.
Sure. So since we're going to be looking out another 3 or 4 years before we're ready to go there for qualification testings, I assume we'll be going through a CLIPS program equivalent where we'll just be doing a lander and dropping it off. Our final design will account for actual landing and placement, and all of which will be automatic.
Mm-hmm. It'll be automatic.
As in you don't need to go for it.
Yeah, I guess what you're trying to get at is, I think in the future, once we have established that our system is actually usable and it's going to be there on the moon, then we'll have to partner up with launch providers in order for us to get there. And that could be, SpaceX, could be Blue Origin, it could be Astra, whoever.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because I'm just kind of trying to back into the numbers that you need to get your stuff up there, and it's expensive. It's getting cheaper and cheaper, thanks to just more options for launch. But just don't underestimate just how hard it is just to get up there. Still, it's just my only just point of feedback.
Thank you.
Both in timing and cost and insurance.
All right, thank you, Team Lunar Kinetic. Next up, we have Open Lab.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. You are shown.
You show presentation notes.
Oh, you probably want to just show the main one, Sean.
Okay, give me one moment. Let me restart the sharing. I'll share my screen in this moment. Can you see? Okay. Can you see it right now?
Yep.
Look good to you?
Yeah,
okay,
looks good.
Kick this off.
Okay, let's kick off. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Open App. So our vision is to make hands-on lab practice a feasible online learning experience. You all heard about Coursera and Udemy, right? They are fantastic online learning platforms, but we're better. Why? Because among thousands of the courses, including lab courses offered online, all these platforms only focus on lectures. But we will combine both by miniaturizing and then delivering real instruments to your door. But we have to first remove one of the obstacles, such as the bulky, expensive, and complex instruments on the right. Can you believe how expensive they are to set up? Right, so we want to offer a solution, and we first want to focus on laser tag. So now I'm going to let one of our co-founders, Libor, to tell you more about our solution.
Thanks, Julian. So our solution is a combination of the integrated lab experiment setup and the friendly web-based user interface. First, we redesigned the hardware setup with compact and low-cost off-the-shelf parts to save the total cost while serving the education training purpose. The whole hardware assembly can fit into a shoebox and be delivered to students' hands conveniently. Secondly, we developed the software user interface embedded in the web browser, so students can easily open the web page, connect to the measurement equipment, and see the test results immediately during the hands-on practice. Overall, this provides an extremely accessible remote lab learning experience. Students just need to pay about $79 per month for hardware and the software subscription. Recently, we have just acquired our first customer, San Jose City College. Next, I will let team member Sean to talk about market and more.
Thank you, Libor. So the global edtech market is highly promising with an estimated value of $180 billion this year, and is expected to grow over to $400 billion in 2025. We are aware online education platforms are everywhere, but currently there is no practical course with hands-on lab accessibility could satisfy the surging demand. At EdTech 2.0, Open Lab is bridging this technology gap. We are targeting a serviceable, obtainable market of $1 billion for lab-based online software and hardware solutions and e-learning platforms for students and professionals in North America. Our first generation product, the hardware and the software solution focusing on laser testing, was just rolled out a few months ago, as Libo mentioned. We are refining our products based on users' feedback from San Jose City College. Our public lab course is around the corner and will be launched in the spring. We would partner with online education platforms at this moment to test the market. Down the road, we are working with more universities to build up the online lab ecosystem, which will include Open Lab's own online platform and professional certificate programs. Our mission is not only to facilitate hands-on lab experience, but also help people to crack into the tech world and serve for their careers. We can kick this off because we have a fantastic founding team from the tech, from the frontline labs, from the universities, and from the business. So it is the metaverse era right now, and the robust demand of higher technical professionals are driving the reformation of the education platforms. That is exactly what Open Lab is building up. We are looking to build solid relationships with industry leaders who are staffing technical candidates and are partnering with institutions and universities who grow next generation talents in the technology field. So come to us if you are interested to learn more about Open Lab and about the new learning experience at EdTech 2.0. We look to partner with VCs from deep tech, and we are hiring talents with specialists from marketing, software development, business development, and the EdTech. Thank you. Any questions?
Great job, guys. I'm thinking, is the right go-to-market model to charge the end students versus the actual universities themselves to sell the kind of box, the lab in a box? I'm just kind of questioning the business model approach, and I could totally be wrong. It's just an initial gut reaction. And then the second question I have is this that much better than the existing kind of VR, AR solutions out there with a company, if you're familiar with Labster?
Yes.
Hopefully you've studied them as another kind of comparable, if you will, in the space. I know it's VR, not actually hardware kind of in a box, but those are my two initial questions.
Yeah, so I can start first to address your question. My teammate can follow. To address your latest question first, right? The Labster, we are aware of that kind of a company, but again, I as a chemist by training, right? All of us, the engineer here, we understand how important is the hands-on experience. We are, maybe at some point they might be able to offer that experience, but I don't think in the foreseeable future it will kind of take that. So we still believe strongly that hands-on experience is still something that is definitely desperately needed. And then to address your other questions as to go-to-market is the model about whether charging to students or through the university for students who take classes through college, right? We can do both. It's not mutually exclusive. The reason is we're trying to, down the road in the future, we want to make our program as a certified program, a certificate program, so that students don't necessarily need to enroll or sign up for a college or something like that, because other students may not, have the bandwidth or time or financial aid that they can go to university, or they have to take all those like GE classes before they take these specialized classes, right? So it can target to the universities. So students who want to take that class, they can, pay the university, you just can buy that. Or we can charge the students who want to pivot to a new career. And we can partner with, for example, some of the laser company that requires those QC technicians right? We're already in discussion with them on how to design a program so that they can get a certificate after completing our courses, so that when they try to like get an interview from those companies, they know that we are creditable, so that they will have a higher chance to get hired. So imagine the social impact of people who work in a low unskilled job, right? Now they all have a chances to go to a, you know, tech world who offer better benefit and stuff like that. So hopefully that kind of address part of your concerns there.
All right, thank you, Team Open Lab. Next up, we have Prana Medical. Go ahead, Team Prana Medical.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. The availability of ventilators is a luxury we only dream about. We've had patients deteriorate just because we couldn't access various ventilation accessories. Let's save lives, my friends. Every life matters. I pulled these quotes from an email I was sent by Dr. Alfred Aidu, who's an anesthesiology resident at Kolpo Noche Teaching Hospital in Ghana. And I believe you shouldn't be going through these problems. My name is Abhi Kavalkar. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Prana Medical, and we make a low-cost assisted respiration device for the developing world. Dr. Aidu's problem is shared by many other people across Africa, with fewer than 2,000 working vents serving 41 different countries, compared to more than 170,000 here in the US alone. We estimate that Africa needs between 700,000 to 1.4 million ventilators to address this shortage. Through programs such as the NSF ICO, we've done a lot of customer discovery interviews across the world with a focus on Africa. And after speaking to medical professionals who work with ventilators and patients on a daily basis, we found that the problem was really clear. Hospitals are frequently overwhelmed with patients, and since the upfront cost of acquiring a ventilator is really high, patients are turned away and they lose their lives. So to address these problems, we designed a solution called Prana Medical. Prana is a medical device that allows up to 4 patients to share a single hospital ventilator. We primarily use standard medical grade off-the-shelf parts, which allows us to plug our device into existing ventilators without any issues. A simple 4-way splitter that we've designed divides the airflow supplied by the vent into 4 equal streams. And the strips that show you, where the patients are connected they facilitate easy like connections between patients and the device itself. We also have Braille on the device so that you can identify what the different branches are if you're visually impaired. A centralized dashboard allows you to monitor each individual patient simultaneously and also adjust the flow rate and the pressure going to each patient. You can also be notified of alarms and disconnections in the event of any errors. The form factor is quite small and compact, and the product clips onto the handlebars of existing vents. We've developed a range of prototypes starting with a simple 4-way splitter, then adding medical grade parts before finally integrating electronics into the system. And with our most recent prototype, we were able to control the pressure and flow rate across all 4 individual branches successfully. Hospitals currently spend $8,000 every single month for oxygen cylinders, which is an inefficient use of oxygen compared to CPAP ventilation. And since hospitals can't afford the $17,000 price tag for ventilators, they're not able to offer the care they want to give to patients. So we'll be selling Prana at a rate of $80 to $120 per unit per month with a minimum commitment of 2 years, which includes installation, training, and servicing. It costs us less than $900 to make the product with sensors and the pressure control system, with a recurring cost of $60 per unit to maintain the device. So in 2 years' time, we'll have on average $2,400 in revenue, which is much less than what hospitals would typically spend on oxygen tanks in the same period. We're focused on an opportunity condition called COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and it affects 26 million people in Africa every year and is expected to rise. The market size is about $200 billion at the moment. We will, through our advisory network, with our key advisor, Lisa Trujillo, who works with the International Council for Respiratory Care and the American Association for Respiratory Care. It's through her network that we've been able to get in touch with hospitals on the ground in Africa. And that's where we will start deploying the product in the beginning on a subscription basis. And over time, we'd like to start selling to nonprofit organizations and national governments for their strategic national stockpiles as well as one-off units in bulk. We expect to start selling at the end of 2023 and break even in 2025. which is a combination of both subscriptions sold to hospitals and one-off units sold to NGOs and governments. We're looking to raise $1 million to give us 12 months of runway, primarily to help with R&D and prototyping, to help us file patents, cover medical device approval fees, and also to help 3 team members go full-time. These are my teammates. They're based in England right now, which is why they couldn't join me. But we have an award-winning team of designers and engineers here with a background in product design engineering, chemical engineering, and myself, I'm a Master of Design student at Berkeley. Our advisors include people from, as we mentioned, the International Council for Respiratory Care, the American Association for Respiratory Care, UCSF Health, and Stanford Children's Health. And Lisa has actually gone down to Ghana several times to set up her own respiratory therapy program in the region. We've also won a number of awards, including Fast Company's World-Changing Ideas, the Social Impact Award at San Francisco Design Week Awards. We presented at a respiratory care conference earlier this year, and we were featured on BBC Radio Leicester. We're also doing, in addition to STEP, 2 other programs on campus, so Citrus Foundry and the PAD 13 program at Skyday. About 1.5 years ago, we started playing with plumbing parts, balloons, and vacuum cleaners to prove to people that our concept would work when no one took us seriously. And today we have a working prototype that's able to control pressure and air across 4 different branches. And with your help, we can get this product to the people that need it most. Thank you.
Thanks. We have time for one question.
I just have a quick question. You talked a lot about the subscription and what it's going to cover. I didn't see factored in there what you had said about training and servicing that customers expect.
That's within that $60 per year in terms of maintenance, servicing, installation, and training.
Really?
That's per unit per year. Yeah.
Okay, that just seems super low to me, because for something like medical equipment, it seems like it would be a little more than 60.
So we've included.
How have you
like
validated that? I guess that's my question.
We haven't validated that yet, but this figure was brought up using assumptions. So we think about 10% of the products in service will start failing, and then we have a price for the parts that we have to replace, the ones which are the most likely to fail, in addition to the salaries for people on the ground who would be doing the training, installation, and maintenance. So we quantified that, and we had that in addition to the total number of devices out there, and we divided that to get this figure for each device.
Got it. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you'd factored in the salaries, because that's super expensive. Okay.
Yeah, this is for the people on the ground in Africa. So.
Got it. Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Team Prana. Last but not least, we have Team Sycamore. Go ahead, team.
Thank you, Maggie. Let me know when you can see the screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Perfect.
Hello, everyone. My name is Merdula, and our team is presenting for Sycamore. It's difficult to believe that it was just 3 months ago that our team met for the first time. We were brought together by our passion for healthcare business solutions and the role that technology could play in making business processes more streamlined and cost-effective. This was an important challenge for us to tackle because healthcare profit margins are shrinking with rising operating costs and challenging reimbursement models. We hypothesized that there was a gap in healthcare procurement and inventory solutions, and after talking to a wide range of potential customers, we found that most procurement and inventory work was done either offline or in disjoint legacy systems. We also found that there is no central repository for information that would allow for insight-generating reporting.
So we think we can solve this problem through 3 modules: a procurement module, a budgeting module, and an inventory management module, all of them connected to a central repository system, a smart Sycamore DB. Through these modules, we'll be answering 3 main questions for hospitals: what and how much to purchase, when and how much to purchase, and how to get the best deal. In the short term, we want to focus on creating dynamic par levels that are updated weekly. These will be powered from material usage forecasts generated through a proprietary algorithm. eliminating current practices of ad hoc and intuition-based forecasting of power levels. We want to interface with current healthcare provider ERP solutions at this stage to minimize change management complexities. In the medium term, we will look to generate early purchase alerts for cost saving as well as automated budget reports by relevant categories. Labor-intensive manual reports are a key pain point that we've heard from our customer research. By interfacing with distributor ERP solutions, we'll be able to get the information our material price forecasting algorithm needs to generate these alerts and reports. In the long term, we want to create alerts for volume discount opportunities, breaking down silos across affiliated practices within a hospital. We will look to achieve this through product matchmaking, having benefited from data obtained during the development of earlier modules. Together, these three modules will create a Sycamore ERP solution.
So our current competition is clustered around capital purchase management with a high implementation cost due to a reliance on RFID and RTLS systems. We are focused on disposables, which are 60% of inventory purchases. Furthermore, our approach of utilizing dynamic power levels and usage forecasts based on historical trends and diagnostic classifications face a lower barrier to adoption. We've identified two initial target segments: independent health networks with high utilization rates in pink, and entities that we have personal links with in red. These entities represent 5% of the California market, and we estimate an initial revenue of $13 million per year.
Our pricing will be informed by both cost and utilization rates. The utilization rate will help us price discriminate between organizations of different sizes. We intend to break out our pricing into one-time implementation fees and a monthly subscription charge.
So our primary focus at this time will be to find a client partner using the team's personal contacts. We will work with this partner throughout the MVP and product development phases to get continuous feedback. By March 2022, we aim to gather input data for our algorithm and also get a data scientist and UX designer on board so we can go through the product discovery, specs, and wireframing stages together. By July 2022, we will look to initiate the two main aspects of our first stage product, UX design and algorithm development. By October 2022, we aim to complete development of the MVP and start testing on client partner sites. And then in 2023, we'll start the product development and lead generation processes with the aim of going to market by Q3. So we're Sycamore, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Judges, any questions for the team? Okay.
For me, did a great job.
All right, thank you, team. And that wraps up all of the pitches for tonight. Great job, all the teams. Right now, we'll move the judges into a breakout room to make their final decision. In the meantime, I'll hand it off to Santi Pizzoni, and he will be sharing a video from our very special guest. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you, Santi.
Thank you, Maggie. So guys, one of the StEP advisors, Bill Pierce, which is the Assistant Dean and Chief Marketing Officer at UC Berkeley, was not able to make it to the tonight, but he asked if we asked him if he can actually give a couple of words for you. So let me share my screen. You guys can see my screen,
good
right?
Afternoon to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, we can, Santi.
Hey, good afternoon to all of the teams at the STEP competition report out today. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Bill Pierce. I'm a member of the marketing faculty at Berkeley Haas. I'm also an assistant dean and chief marketing officer of the school. But the thing I'm most proud of is I'm an advisor to the StEP team. And the StEP team asked me to come today and be one of the judges. Unfortunately, I'll be teaching an innovation class tonight at Haas, and I'm unable to make it. But I did want to take the opportunity just to congratulate all of you to getting to this point in your journey. I think the hardest thing that you can do in business is to start an idea from scratch. You guys have all felt it, you've experienced it, you've got an idea, you've got technical expertise, you're bringing that together. And that's only part of the journey, right? The idea is key, no doubt about it. But understanding who's the potential customer, understanding what problem you're solving for that group, understanding the benefit that you can bring to the next best alternative. So many things to wrap your head around, so many things that will challenge you, challenge your leadership ability, challenge your technical capability, challenge your interpersonal relationships between you and the team. So incredibly exciting, so incredibly frustrating. So I'm here to tell you that the single biggest thing you can do to be successful ultimately, and this isn't going to be earth-shaking, this isn't going to be split in the atom kind of mathematics. This is about calling out the obvious. So the single biggest thing that you can do is persevere. Now, I've been an advisor to startups for a number of years, as you can probably tell by my gray hair. I've been a board member. I've been in your chair as the leader of an emerging organization, and I do know how hard it is. But the only thing you can guarantee when you go down this path is you're going to have challenges. You're going to have setbacks. There are going to be things that you didn't see that come up and smack you in the face and cause you to reevaluate. Hey, was that decision right? Is our positioning right? Is something we're doing, is it meeting the needs for our potential customers? And the answer is, you don't know. You've got to figure that out. That's perseverance. It goes by many names: grit, stick-to-itiveness. The thing that I would encourage you to do is continue to exercise your dreams, continue to point towards finding that right product market fit, continue to evaluate, hey, is our positioning right? And the thing that I love about the STEP approach is that you have people with great technical background, right? Hard sciences. And you've got people that are commercialization experts, people that understand the multifunctional needs that have to be addressed. Bringing those two together and finding a way to persevere and keep at it is what is ultimately going to make you successful. So if at the end of the day today, you feel like you've gotten a shovel kind of put in your path, you took a 2x4 off the side of your head, yeah, that's what this business is about. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is persevere. If you got to this place, it's because you're smart. If you got to this place, it's because you've got grit. If you got to this place, it's because there's a core idea there that a lot of people find attractive. So figure out the rest. I know it's like a Rubik's Cube, and just fix one thing and something else pops up. Persevere. Now, I know the talent that got you into Berkeley, the talent that got you here is going to be the talent that makes you success in the marketplace. Lean on your advisors, lean on your teammates, work to become better at your functional skill area, work to become a better leader, work to become a better partner for your clients. All of those things require perseverance, and all those things are what's going to make you successful ultimately. I wish you the best of luck. I hope our paths cross again on campus or outside campus. But I think what you're doing is incredibly important and huge impact for the economy, the world at large, for our climate. And I love what you're doing, and I encourage you to persevere. Best of luck, and I look forward to meeting you all.
Well, thank you guys to the teams for all the work you have been doing in the program, and I cannot take this away. So we're gonna wait 2 more minutes from the judges to come back. For the people that are actually watching us through YouTube, remember to vote your favorite startup. There's gonna be a prize also for the most voted startup. Thank you, and we'll come back in 2 minutes.
Okay. Judges, are you back in the main room? See Rhonda, Sue, and Brandon. Awesome. All right. It's that time of the hour. Drum roll. Okay. So we have, I'll first announce the audience award. Please share audience choice award from. Okay, so we have one team that got more than 50% of the vote from our audience tonight, and that goes to Team Handle. Congratulations, team. You guys can unmute yourself and, I don't know, congratulate the team if you like, but clap for them. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Maggie and the STEP team.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you. And thank you to everybody who voted.
And then next.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, you guys. Bravo.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And now I'll hand it off to Brandon to announce our top 3 teams from tonight. Go ahead, Brandon.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Meg. And also huge thanks to Rhonda and Sue as my co-conspirators in crime, judging everybody. It's really hard to do that, I will say. And so thank you guys for because obviously everybody here works so hard on their projects. And especially in a university context, you have so many other distractions and things going on, and being razor focused on your startup. It deserves a lot of applause. So, it's an honor for us to be able to hear from you and to be able to be in a position to judge. So thank you again for your time. The top 3, we'll go 3 first, 2, and then the big winner last. But coming in 3rd place with the bronze medal is Chaser. Congratulations, Team Chaser. Bravo. I'm the only one clapping here, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. Thank you so much. And then Team 2 with the silver is Sycamore. Way to go, Team Sycamore. And coming in with the gold medal, the big trophy, is Brain Tea. And as you can see, there's a bit of a theme here with 1 and 2, the gold and silver, and that's around health IT and healthcare. It's certainly a passion of mine, and it sounds like also with Sue and Rhonda to find better solutions to help this multi-trillion-dollar issue in America of delivery of great healthcare. So hopefully these 2 teams can get after it. So thank you both.
All right, congratulations, Team Brain Tea, Sycamore, and Chaser. And thank you again, judges, Brandon, Rhonda, and Sue, for your time tonight. Want to say thank you to all the teams and the entire cohort. Most of you met for the very first time 9 weeks ago, and you have been working hard to put your ideas into work. And now you are founders of companies. Hope you can keep going. And if you need to make your pivot, and we are still here for you. Reach out if you have any other questions. Good luck, and have a good evening, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you all. Take care. Nice to meet you all. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, everyone.
Well done, Maggie.
Congratulations, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Steph. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you all the judges.
Thank you all the judges.